good people should want to do good things. And if he doesn't help, he doesn't get to claim he's a good person. Number one is being mean ethically, because everyone's just like, oh, they're yelling, they're being mean, they're being bad. It's like, no. And if he wants to do that, unfortunately, he has to pay the price of that. I am gonna probably talk to Steven. I was trying to weigh about whether it would be better to talk to him publicly or privately, because I have, and just so people are aware, this is not a virtue signal at all. I don't really care that he's being mean. I expressly don't care that he's being mean. I think his insensitivity to the guy who died is optically stupid, but fundamentally, I don't care morally that much. I think it's just neutral. I don't really care. My biggest concern is that I don't believe that he's acting within the moral values that he holds for himself. And I think, like, as a friend, the only time that I think is really appropriate to opt to confront your friend instead of when they ask for feedback is when they're doing things that you think fly in the face of what they think is good. And so that's basically what I want to talk to him about. We've had a number of conversations privately about this as well. Just so it's clear, I've confronted him in the past privately. It's actually gone super well. I don't know if this will go as well. But I basically believe a lot in Steven. And I don't know if he believes that he's really capable. I think he's like always on the fence about like whether he wants to step into like having a more major role on politics broadly, because he has such a massive impact already. But for him to get to that next level, he would basically have to pay things, which would be some level of like biting his tongue. He'd probably have to bleed. He bit his tongue so hard. Reserving his power level at times, and giving people mercy who do not fucking deserve it, which is a very, very, very big ask. It is a cost, and it's thankless. No one will appreciate him for it, and people will hate him for it, and he'll lose growth, probably initially, and it is probably good for him to do, and he can do it. And I think he's like uniquely positioned as like a rare person who can do it, because he's like one of the strongest liberal debaters. So he can really go to task with people on policy, whereas most liberals are afraid to even talk to the opposition, because I think to some degree liberals are just afraid of their own positions. They're just afraid of pushback, because the reality is that a lot of pushback to a lot of like leftist ideas is immediately bears it as being stupid. And so they just don't want to talk to anyone, which is just not the way forward, obviously. So yeah, he is right about having been too tolerant, though. Of conservatives, he needs to be straightforward with false beliefs. Yeah, I mean, there's maybe. I would need to know what he means by too tolerant. I have no idea what that means, I guess. And he doesn't, just to be clear, I don't think he has to step into this. I think he can like exist as he is neutrally, and that's just fine. But I think he shouldn't, basically. I don't need to babysit Destiny, just to be clear. I'm not talking about him like he's a child. He's my friend that I respect a lot, actually. And because I respect him and his moral system, and I think that he's fundamentally aims to be good, that's why I want to talk to him. That's why. But just to be clear, it's not going to be about all of your tone policing shit, okay? So don't at me. When people are like, are you going to tell him to stop being mean? No, I'm not. In fact, if there's one thing, Glitterbell, maybe you'll have my back here. If there's one thing liberals need to be better at, it's being mean. We should have been very mean to leftists the moment they popped their stupid little heads up, the moment they were like, oh, have you ever heard of microaggressions? We should have said, fuck you, you're stupid, shut the fuck up, okay? That should have just been done, all right? True, being mean is based. Being mean here's the thing, okay? Here's what our society needs to still develop our philosophy on. Number one is being mean ethically, because everyone's just like, oh, they're yelling, they're being mean, they're being bad. It's like, no, there are ways to be mean ethically and unethically. And the most important question is essentially, how do we make sure that we're doing it ethically? I am wandering off. I'm sorry. My dog's really cute, okay? She's a very cutie thing. And what in his recent behavior is in contradiction to his moral value system? Okay, him and I had a conversation once, okay? And we actually disagree about this, just to be super clear. We talked about explicitly this. We said, he told me this story after he was reading C.S. Lewis about a doctor in Africa. So here's the hypothetical. If there is a doctor in Africa and he is in this village, but he's just on vacation, and the village, there's some sort of injuries or some sort of problem that occurs that the doctor can help in, but he's on vacation. Is the doctor ethically required to help the village, essentially? Would he be a bad person if he didn't do that? Right? That's the hypothetical. And so my answer is no. He would not be a bad person if he didn't help, but he would be a good person if he did help, and good people should want to do good things. And if he doesn't help, he doesn't get to claim he's a good person. He's just a neutral person now. It's just like selfish, lazy, neutral, whatever. Just a person. That would be my position. Stephen's position, from my understanding, is that yes, he is ethically obligated to help the village people. He is required to, and if he doesn't, he's being immoral. And it's like, if that's the case, that essentially means with great power comes great responsibility. And I think with great power comes responsibility is a good thing. I think when people have great power and they use it responsibly, they are doing a good. When people with great power use it neutrally, they're doing neutral. And if they're using it poorly, they're being bad, obviously. And I think Stephen has the capacity to do very, very, very incredible things. So if he believes in an obligation to act, and he's at this center point right now of being more informed than almost any political commentator on the planet, one of the best debaters on the planet. I know for a fact, Matt said this, Mr. Beat, which is, or was it was Harley. I'm so sorry. It was Harley. Harley said this, Harley Morenstein from Epic Mealtime. He said, you know, you have a lot of influence, right? And Stephen's like, I've got like a decent sized following. And he's like, no. Influential people listen to you. And so there's different types of ways that streamers can impact people. And this is something I always think about, like the Sneeko effect. Sneeko was a really interesting character before he blew up, especially because when he was a really small YouTube creator, he had not a lot of subs, but a lot of much bigger content creators watched his content because it was really good, even if like the average viewer wasn't appreciating it because it was super thoughtful, all these sorts of things. Okay. I think Stephen is very much like that, just so much bigger, because he already has a very dedicated audience as well. I think that Stephen has the capacity to do very good, but more importantly, I think he influences influential people as well. I think there are a lot of influential people. Mr. Beat said this too. Okay. I know a number of people have said this. I book guests for Bridges. Okay. I can't even begin to tell you the amount of huge, and when I say huge, I mean like huge names. And I'm not going to drop them because Steven's being a big bad boy. And I don't want them feeling their names get attached to him because they, in private emails with me, talked about how much they love him as a thinker. But when I say huge, I mean people that I've emailed that I would have never expected to hear back from because they're not even streamers. They're like very important people who I invited to come on the thing. And they've said yes. They just like can't for like 6 months because they're so important. And they're like, I love him, but they're obviously not like big public supporters. I can't emphasize enough how much people are listening to Stephen that are influencing the world. And if you have that level of impact, if the thinkers and the shakers in the world are looking to you as a thought leader at times, unfortunately, that means that you have a very large responsibility, and he can opt out of it. He can just say, I don't want to, not going to do it. He can do that. He really can. Okay. He can. But I think he's a good person, and a good person would want to fill that responsibility because nobody else will. I don't believe there's somebody that would take his place. I don't think there is anybody. So that's what I want to talk to him about, is that I believe in him a lot. But also to be clear that if he takes up that responsibility, it will come at a cost to him. Nobody will thank him for it. Nobody will appreciate him. A lot of people will be very, very mad at him, and it's probably the right thing to do. And it's up to him if he wants to do that. I could be wrong though. I don't know. But that's basically what I want to talk about. I don't know if hopefully he's not watching this right now, and now he knows. He's prepping all of his epic debate lines against me. But yeah. For anyone who's wondering, I would not burn the bridge with Stephen over this. I really don't agree with what he's doing. But the reality is that I don't end friendships with people because they have ideas that I disagree with or they do behavior that I disagree with. That's not what friendship means to me. And I think it's gross in a political public content space that people feel obligated to cut off friendships exclusively for optic benefits. That's not how I work, and I will never let the space change me over that. Never. I'm not interested. The reality is that, like, if there's any time that I was going to backstab Steven to like benefit from it, it's probably right now. I could probably get a huge audience for it, and I will never do that because that's not what I'm interested in, and because I believe a lot in Steven, and I'm really good at doing work. I can put in the hours, and I'm happy to help him pursue that if that's what he wants to do. And if he decides that he doesn't want to do that, that's okay. I'll just continue to support him in the other fashion that he would like. I'd be a little bit disappointed, but yeah. Why do you believe in him? Why? I'm sick and tired of listening to political discourse. He's making being political every single thing, your profile picture, what you share, what you DM. In a democracy like you guys have in America specifically, there's an element where like the personal isn't political and the personal is political, right? And I believe part of the problem with the personal is political is that it turns people into team sports, which is bad. But I think it's important for people to realize that like their choices and implications have so many larger ripple effects than anyone wants to realize. That this world is like deeply more connected than you ever thought. And I think being in the social creation space has like rammed this home, because I used to like fight with Nick all the time about being like, not only am I a normal person, but I really, 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 really want to be a normal person. But the issue is every normal person is like 1 to 3 rooms away from the most important people in the world. I right now am like two rooms away from Joe Biden himself, based on some of my networking connects. That's fucking crazy. And that means people who are friends with me are like 3 rooms away. That's crazy to think about. But that also means that like, I think being an individual is good, but I feel like something that gets so lost in society, and I'm not sure if it's because of like lack of religion or just like the education system isn't reinforcing this enough, which is that like to run a democracy means that everyone has to buy in. I think Steven says this all the time. And to run a civilization effectively that allows for maximum freedoms, that has created the best human experience on the planet, which is the American kind of new world democratic system. It is the best thing that has ever happened to humanity, bar none. It is the best. And if you want to protect that as something sacred, which you should do, just truly read a history textbook. If you're like, I don't know, man, democracy's kind of cringe. Okay, read about monarchy, you dumb. And do not think for a second that you would be a lord or lady. Okay, you're in my chat. Okay, we're all plebs. I'm a pleb. We're all plebs. I'm a serf, work in the field. Okay, for sure. It's like the best we've ever created as humans, and I think it would be insane for us to not take that seriously. But the issue is that taking seriously what is happening with the Supreme Court and Trump and the genuine threat that might be to American democracy cannot be where we say, so now political violence is justified. And to be clear, there is a line. There is a line where it's justified. I don't know if it's right here yet. I just don't know. I think like we exhaust every single institutional system first. And I think that if Steven is genuinely afraid of democracy ending, I think he can potentially be a coalition of voice and voices, because there are so many people that want to get behind Steven. Really big names, really public names, really powerful people. And they never will, because they can't risk, unfortunately, pleb dumb fucks who just are like, this guy's mean, da, 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 and they won't sign up with him. You have to be willing to work with those people, and it comes at a cost, right? It does. But you can change the world if you want to. And he doesn't have to. He's not obligated. In any world, he's not obligated. But I think he wants to, and I know that he could. And if he wants to do that, unfortunately, he has to pay the price of that, which is going to be biting his tongue, being bankless, having to put up with unbearably annoying people, giving people mercy who don't deserve it, giving people grace when they probably shouldn't have it, and being really brutally honest at just the right time, like reserving your like verbal rhetoric violence essentially for very important key moments. I think when today on the Twitter spaces, when he was going off on people, there was times where he was doing a really good job and times where he was not doing such a good job. But there were times where he was dropping bars. He was calling people out hard. I was like, yes, true. And then there were times where he's like, you probably like don't need to be chanting like BLM, yes, and the white saber. Yeah, probably just not the best. Talk him into it. I will never talk somebody into the responsibility that I think Stephen could achieve because it's not fun. Yeah, that is something somebody should fully choose for themselves if they want to. And if he doesn't want to, that's fine. He can just like keep doing what he wants to do. That's also genuinely fine. It's neutral. Yeah. Okay. That's probably going to be my night. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you like the stream, don't forget to sub. I am still on Twitch. And so if you type !Prime, you can give me your free Amazon Prime sub every single month. I am trying to commit to streaming more often. I want to go back to diversifying my income. So I am going to be a little bit more dedicated to streaming. I'm considering a bunch of options right now. I'm going to buy some mobile stuff. And now that I'm in the States, I think I really like the bridges idea and the humanizing stuff. I like that part of me. And so I think I'm going to try to go to more rallies and stuff like that, kind of similar to what Luke Beasley does, but asking more like neutral questions. Yeah. Thanks for streaming, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to check my Patreon as well. I post a lot there right now. So, pretty poggers. I'm working on like filming like little bits of me talking every day of just my thoughts and then putting it up on there. So tune in for that. If you like hearing like 5-minute little thoughts from me. And if you don't, then definitely don't. And if you can't afford anything, that's okay. You can always support any content creator by just liking and watching their stuff. The reality is there's no such thing as a free viewer, free content. You're paying with your eyes and your views. So,
editor here. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and consider joining as a member for only a few dollars a month. We will be releasing videos covering topics from the private and personal to the public and political. So join notsoErudite today on her live-streamed Look on Life.